Hey there, welcome to day 3 of shooting black and white photography with all sorts of different cameras. Now, I've been quite busy today, so I haven't had much of a chance to go and get anything during the day. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to head out now. It's nearly midnight, so I've still got some of today left. And I'm going to go and take black and white photographs in pretty much near darkness outside. I'm just going to shoot under the street lamps and starlight and moonlight and see what I can get with whatever ambient light is available to me. Now, to do this and make sure I get a decent image, I'm going to take with me the Sony A7s. That's this fella here, commonly renowned to be one of the best cameras in low light, or the best camera in low light ever, as far as I'm concerned. Except I haven't got the A7S II yet. I'm sure when I do get that I'll decide that that one's the best in low light. But anyway, it's pretty damn good and can shoot pretty much near darkness and get a very, very nice image. So that's what I'm going to go do now, and then I'll bring those back and color correct them and turn them black and whites in a couple of different ways. I'll do that in Photoshop, and I'll capture what I shoot in Photoshop as well, so that you can see how I'm doing it as well as what I end up with. Now, when I'm finished, I'll put these pictures and the previous pictures I've done somewhere on the web, so you can download them if you feel like it and you like them. Okay, so let's grab the camera and head outside and go get some photographs.
Ryan Little.
Okay, so that was pretty cool. I got some nice photos out there. I think some of them may be a little bit laggy and things. I was doing it all handheld. I probably should have had a tripod, but hey, this is just a quick thing, playing around and seeing what we can do with what we've got. So that works for this. So what I'm going to do now is import them all in, and we'll have a look at them, and we'll manipulate some of the photos and show you a couple of different ways of taking something to black and white in Photoshop. 5 ways I'm going to cover of turning a color photograph into black and white. The first one here is using the desaturation tool. This is something that a lot of people fall to straight away because it's easy, it's accessible, and it gives you quick results that are okay, but they're very limited in what you can do with them. The way you do that is just go to Image. This is in Photoshop, by the way. It's an old version of Photoshop, but that's okay. I've never felt the need to upgrade. Go to Adjustments and the Hue Saturation controls. That will open up, and you can just drag the saturation down to -100%. And what that basically does is it removes all the color information and just leaves you the luminosity channel. Now, that does a couple of things to your photo. First of all, yeah, it makes it black and white and grayscale. That's okay, you've got that there. You can then adjust the lightness a little bit and mess around with it. And that's about what you can do with this. It's going to lose a lot of detail in places like in here. and you're just kind of stuck with that, really. It's a very hard-hitting bulldozer technique of making something in black and white. It works if you're in a hurry, and there you go. So I'm going to undo all of that now and go back to our original picture. Now, another way of making your image grayscale or black and white very, very quickly is to use the grayscale tool as well. So you can just go mode grayscale, and what this does is it just immediately discards all color information. It does give you a warning in Photoshop now that hey, you're doing this in a real hard-hitting, simple, uncontrolled kind of way, and it does tell you how to use the black and white adjustments layer that I'll show you shortly. I'm going to ignore that at the moment, and there you go. Now, as you can see, this is better than the desaturation straight away because you haven't blown out all of this detail in here. What you've got now is set, though. You can't manipulate this unless you want to, say, open up the curves dialog and just have a bit of a play around here. But this is post-processing something that's fixed, so you're not still making an adjustment on your base image or something. You're now fiddling with one finalized and rendered change, and you're making further finalized and rendered change on it. This is going to degrade the overall quality of the picture. In a lot of cases it might be perfectly good for you and it'll do what you want to, so that's cool. But just be aware that it once again is a bit of a bulldozer solution to making an image black and white. On saying that, these are two that I do fall to quite often. Okay, I'm going to go back to the original image again now, and I'm going to pick on my third way of doing this. Now, this is similar to what we've been doing already, but it's going to give us a bit more control. If we go into the adjustments again and have a look at the channel mixer down here. Now, the channel mixer is different to the other adjustments I've just shown you in that it's non-destructive. So what that means is that it doesn't destroy the original data in the image. It applies an adjustment to that and maintains the original data. You can read more about adjustment layers and that sort of thing elsewhere. So to do this one, I just go into the image adjustments and channel mixer menu, and I can click down here on monochrome. Now, when I click on that one there, as you can see, it gives you a much nicer grayscale image than the other two have done already. It still lets you adjust how much of the green, blue and red channels are feeding into that monochrome image, and you can tweak this constant a bit here as well, which just sort of gives you a bias on the overall depth and grey range of the image. You need to play with these things a fair bit, obviously, to get a good grasp of what it is that they can really do and how much they're going to affect what you're doing. And I can just sort of darken that one a little bit while I'm here, just to bring the blacks down. Just can't help fiddle with these things all the time. Okay, I've got two more methods of converting your image to black and white to show you. This next one, using the black and white adjustment tool, is probably the one that I find the most useful for myself. I'm just going to come into adjustments again and choose black and white. Now, this one gives you a lot more control over the basic image that you're starting with. What I like to do is come in here and hit the auto tool straight away and see what that gives me. As you can see in here, we do lose a little bit of detail down in here, and it's washing it away, but this is different to a lot of the other ones in that, once again, it's a non-destructive filter, so it hasn't actually destroyed any of the root information in the original picture. Now, I shot this at night under a street light. That's why my original image back here is very yellowy and orangey. That's just the light that comes out of the street lights that we've got around where I am. I didn't want to change that straight away or try and color correct it in the camera, because that would be losing data, and like I often say to a lot of people, always shoot for data and keep that. So I'll just reapply that again, and black and white, there we go. And because of the colouring of where I was, I know that there's a lot of stuff happening in this red and yellow channel area. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring that red back a bit until it shows me some more detail right up in here. As you can see, it's just added some sharpness and crispness into that. And then I'm going to bring up the brightness again of the highlights just using the yellow, and I can probably nudge up the greens a little bit. I might get something back out of that in the shadows, maybe not. I haven't made a lot of difference to what was here based on the auto, but it's kept enough texture and stuff in the blurred out backgrounds, and it's just sharpened up right in the flowers here, Bahuta flowers, by the way, for those that don't know them, and giving me a little bit more detail and things to play with and look at, and just makes the photo more interesting. The fifth way of adjusting the images, which is a bit of a quick and nasty one again, but it is much cleaner than the first two I've shown you, and it's a non-destructive way of applying an adjustment to your image as well, is using the gradient map tool. That can be found here in images, adjustments, and down here in gradient map. Now once again, it's just applying this map to your image. There are a number of different settings here that you can play with that do different things and invert it. So as you can see, you can come in and do all sorts of really weird and interesting things with it. I'm just going to use the black and white one here because that's what I'm after at the moment. There is a gradient map editor for doing all of this other psychedelic stuff, and yeah, I don't tend to use it. It's not where I typically go with Photoshop. But that gives me this rather nice adjustment in here. Now you can come into the gradient map editor here, and if you want, and then just pull these adjustments through. As I said before, it's non-destructive, so it's not going to mess your photo up. If you come in and play with this, you can pull some rather nice stuff in and sort of crush the blacks, or flatten out the whites and lower the whites or whatever. But you can also move the midpoint and adjust the gradient toning along here as well, just to get a bit of an adjustment. Not as much as you can get by using the gradient, the black and white tool, but it's a bit more than you might otherwise. It can also let you add in some more mid-tone colors and things like that as well. You can click on that, choose a mid-gray, and there's a way that you can adjust your gradient levels with a bit more control. You could add several of these sort of adjustments and to sort of change the emphasis and the range of your mid-tones and that sort of thing. It's quite a powerful tool. Once again, it needs a bit of playing with, but there you go. Okay, I hope these have been useful to you. It's a number of different ways of creating black and white images off anything that you capture. Obviously, I don't need to say, when you're shooting, shoot for as much raw data as you possibly can. The more data you've got, the more you've got to play with afterwards, and can get a much better image. Go have some fun, pick up any old camera, go shoot stuff, come make some black and white photos, and put a link to it in the comments below. Don't forget to also subscribe to the channel, click a like and share, and all of those good YouTubey things that help us guys out when we're making all these videos. Have a good evening.